Hello my loves, I'm Ellie Frost. Thank you so much for being on my channel where we are talking about the multi-dimensional approach to rapidly and radically healing and transforming from narcissistic abuse. And I want to talk today about what you really need to know about the trauma bond with the narcissist or with anyone actually trying to manipulate you. So a lot of you know what trauma bonding is if you're here, I'm sure, but it's the idea that when someone causes you a lot of pain, you have a very strong attachment to them, right? Often because the brain kind of thinks, well, if that person's caused me so much pain, I must care about them a lot. So when someone's trying to trauma bond you, they're messing up your emotions. Now, in narcissistic abuse, what happens is the narcissist is training you emotionally from the start, from the get-go. So part of the trauma bond is you want your abuser to be your rescuer. This is what it does to your biology. So they're training you from the get-go because the narcissist is like a God complex. They think they're above God. They think they should be your God, that you should worship them, and that they get to completely control you on every level. Right? Which means that they're the ones that decide whether you experience pleasure or pain. One of the hardest things for people to understand in narcissistic abuse cycles in the religious and spiritual communities, which by the way is as full of narcissists as anywhere else, is that abuse is two things. It's pleasure and pain. They do some good stuff and they cause a lot of suffering. If it was just suffering, it would be easy to spot. The illusion is the mask, who they pretend to be. So please be aware that in our spiritual community, you can see it if you look strong enough, if you actually research things and don't take them for face value and actually trust your emotions and learn what I'm teaching you here. See if you're being trauma bonded. In my program Sovereign, I do not encourage people to share details of their trauma. Why? One, because it's not necessary for healing at all. Two, the only time they do that is when they're doing some personal work that I give them in order for them to break cognitive dissonance. But people who connect with you on trauma are a massive red flag. Predators, supposed spiritualists and religious people who want to exploit you will completely get you to share your trauma, right? Why? Because the human reaction, when I share something very intimate with you, I automatically form a strong bond, whether you've earned that connection or not. So we all need to be very mindful who we share deeply traumatic experiences with. Now, I'm not saying that in therapy, in safe environments, but you've got to make sure they're safe. It can be useful for some people, but in my experience, and I've got rapid methods of healing people, way faster than what you can read it on my website, traditional approaches. I do not re-traumatize anyone, and I know for healing, going over and over the problem, which is what your mind's doing already, does not help. Because trauma is stored on the body, not on the level of the mind. The mind's already repeating, flashbacking, going over things that it can't resolve. It's got to resolve it on the emotional level. So be very mindful when someone tries to share something with you that is pretty shocking. People will do that to try and manipulate you because now you're bonded on something very severe. It is instigating very strong emotions of you. But when you're traumatized yourself, please either come into what I do, find a way to regulate without being a higher target for predators, because I know what it's like. I've been there. When you're so traumatized, you think you need to speak, you think you need to get it off your chest, but the problem is it makes you such a big target for predators. When they can see that vulnerability and that you're unresolved, they're going to exploit. If it's a predator, they'll exploit you for your trauma. The third thing to know is the narcissist is training your emotional state, right? So they're in control, which means that they decide when you are happy, they decide when you're in pain. They actually feel completely relaxed, completely happy. Well, they don't really feel emotions like we do, but they're very satisfied when they can inflict a lot of pain on you. And what that does is it increases the enmeshment, the bond to them. Because again, the mind is thinking, well, if this person can hurt me so much, I must care. But there's no love in this situation. It's just on exploiting the human system. basically. It's exploiting your soul, it's exploiting your mind, it's exploiting your body, it's exploiting your emotions, right? It's an exploitation game that they do. Now remember, they have no advantage over you when you know who and what they are and how to, you know what I mean, see it for what it is and start healing and operating differently towards them. But so the trauma bond is all about them being able to sort of turn on the pressure cooker and turn on pleasure when they want to. Abuse would not work if it wasn't a cycle of pleasure and pain. But the thing is, your emotions are so heightened in the cycle that when they do something very small, what people call breadcrumbing, you know, maybe they give you a hug, maybe they're nice to you for a day, maybe they actually take you out or do something, you get a very extreme high. Right? Because the way that they're messing with your emotions and training you is that your emotions are exaggerated. Now, when your emotions are very intense, your intellect goes down. The body's designed to do this, that your thinking is not, your intellect isn't kind of on when your body's emotionally charged, right? That's because in the old days when we felt fear or something strong, we'd probably have to run away, or, you know, it wouldn't be the time to sort of think things through. It'd be the time to just act. So they keep you in a dysregulated state where you're not thinking straight, right? And there's lots of ways they do that in the psychic realm as well. So you have to know that this, like, your body has been trained to believe that they are the source of your pleasure and pain. Becoming sovereign means that no one outside of you is the source of anything in your life. You're the only source of your divinity, another one I'll tell you, your connection with God. You self-source through your co-creation with the universe, with the divine, with the light. Now, any spiritual teacher saying, oh, there's no one above me, which I've heard on some of the biggest ones who are supposed to be helping with things like this, not all of them, there's one in particular that someone mentioned on my channel in the last video, they're not working with the divine. That's quite apparent. Do they do good things, some of these people? Yeah. The abuse cycle wouldn't work if they didn't. They're very clever, a lot of them. But, like, you know, we've heard it through the beginning of time. There's religious teachers that do some good to help people, and on the other side of it, they cause a lot of suffering and pain. So you've got to look at the whole, right? And someone that is coming from the light, they don't cause suffering and pain. In fact, a lot of what you'll find from true healers is we don't need to go into the details of your suffering. We don't need to re-traumatize you in any way. We certainly don't exploit you for it. We don't extortion it. We do things quicker and faster. We know how to bring you into yourself again, right? And out of your trauma. Anything that isn't that, telling you you've got to reconnect to pain, bringing out the vilest emotions in you, is a question mark. Anyone that is, I mean, I've seen some things on some of these people, like, you know, having such a superiority over people, enjoying that power, in any way condemning people or having a contempt for them is a question mark, right? Playing God in any way, right? I don't play God, I channel through the divine. I get all my information, a lot of my, not all of it, but a lot of my information from the divine. But there's a difference when you work with a pure channel. One, we get ourselves out the way, so I don't project any of my stuff on you. And two, I allow it to work through me, which is what any great healer will do, right? So, trauma bond. It is something that is used, it's a weapon that is used against you to dysregulate your system, make you not think straight, and believe the narcissist is your source of all pleasure and pain, which keeps your body trained to believe that, which is why, like, you know, the attachment is so strong, the enmeshment is so strong, and you want your abuser to be your reliever. But you know consciously that that doesn't make sense. The person who's giving you all the pain, you want them to be the one that's taking it away because they've trained you, right? Well, that lie ends here. They're never going to take away your pain. They're going to continue in the cycle because it's what keeps you trapped. It's what keeps you bonded in emotional bondage, in mental mind traps, and not being your true self. Lots of love, guys. I'll speak to you soon.